Hey, richest you money maniacs. Today I have a special message for Jeff Bezos. Shame on you for donating money. Let's get right to it. So today I want to make a comment about Jeff Bezos donating $690,000 to the firefighters in Australia, to everyone in Australia, which actually, by the way, once it converts to Australian dollars, turns into $1 million Australian dollars. So he's worth billions and billions of dollars, 110, 115, however many billions of dollars, right? Liquid or not, it really shouldn't matter. He should have given way more money. In fact, there should be a federal law that requires every rich person to give a certain percentage of money to every natural disaster that the public deems worthy of receiving money from those rich people. Because, they have way more than they need. I mean, really. Who needs 110 or 112 or whatever billions of dollars? Why does he need that much money? No person needs that. All he needs is a studio apartment, a Toyota to drive in, and groceries, and that should be it. That's all he needs. In fact, we all as a country should just go on a universal base income where we all get the same amount and everybody wears the same clothes and you all get the same kind of shoes and you all get the same kind of medical health coverage, and you all get the same haircut, because if you get a different haircut, remember, if your hair is longer or shorter, it costs different amounts. So you have to have your hair the same length. And everybody, if they are required to wear glasses, they all get the same prescription, because if it's a different prescription, well, it costs a different amount of money. And you can't have different frames. You got to have everybody be equal, because it's only fair. It's only fair if everybody is required to be the same, right? So all those rich people, in fact, you know what? Let's go even a step further. If we're to go down that path, we're going down the path of federally regulating how much money is donated to each natural disaster that happens anywhere in the world. It could be anywhere. Remember, this is Australia we're talking about, a country that is sovereign on its own, right? Oh yeah, right. Amazon does business around the world. So yeah, that kind of covers. So we could say the world. Let's just say that everybody, not just rich people, have to give a certain percentage for every natural disaster or every shooting or every time something goes wrong somewhere in the world. You are required to give a small percentage. It only has to be like 1%. It could only be 1%. So on top of the taxes that you're already paying, that, by the way, according to the General Accountability Office for the U.S. government says will soon be up to 50 and 60% plus, just to cover all of the incredible spending that the government does every year. Way to go. It takes a lot of time and energy to spend that much money. But they do it so well. So that 50 and 60%, we might as well add on just another 1% to everybody's taxes, but especially to the rich. So they have to pay 5 or 10% more. But here's the catch, right? Every time something goes wrong, you have to pay that 1 cent, or that $1 for every $100 that you make, or that $100 for every $1,000 that you make, or that $1,000 for every $10,000 you make. So if you make $10,000 a year, well, you've got to give $1,000 to every time there's a disaster in the world, because we want to make it fair. We want everybody to have across the board responsibility for keeping the planet safe, because it's your responsibility, Jeff Bezos, to keep the planet safe, because you're rich. But, we want to pitch in too, and because we want to walk the walk and talk the talk, we're not just going to accuse you of being cheap and giving $690,000 of your hard-earned money away to people that you don't even know, but you're trying to help the best you can. We're going to pitch in too, and so we're going to give $1 for every $100 as well, just 1%. You have to give 10%, but we have to get $1, so only 1%, because we're not rich like you. We're not super billionaires. But then how many different natural disasters are happening around the world at any one given time? Well, there's millions. There's genocide, there's war, there's racism, there's sexism, There's just people being nasty to each other. There's murder. There's all kinds of thievery that's going on. I mean, come on, governments are the best at that kind of stuff. So every time something in the world happens now, to be fair, we all have to give that 1% again and again and again and again until actually really what's going to happen real fast is no one's going to have any of their own money. You'll be working to send your money off to other people who aren't working or have natural disasters, who live in floodplains, who decided to build a house where it floods, who decided to put a hotel on the shore of an island that is subject to tsunamis every year, or to build a condo on the shore of a beach where hurricanes hit in Florida and North Carolina and South Carolina year after year after year. Okay, you're getting the message, right? It's absolutely ludicrous that anyone would criticize anyone for giving. It's a completely selfless and generous thought, especially to give a large sum like that, $690,000. There's a lot of people probably watching this video who've never even had that much money in their own life ever. And yet, Jeff Bezos is being criticized. You know, one of the things that nobody talks about when they're criticizing Jeff Bezos for giving $690,000, they don't talk about all the other things that he gives to. Has it ever occurred for anybody to look at the laundry list of things that Amazon sponsors or endorses or gives to art museums or art schools or to other very noble causes? Look at the list of things that money or that Amazon or Jeff Bezos gives to, and then throw in the mix that, holy cow, there's this additional thing this year, these fires in Australia, and you know what? I want to help. So how much can we afford to give? We've already given so much to all these other causes too. What can we afford to give? Well, we can afford to give $690,000. At least that's something. It'll help, you know, at least for right now. And if they need more, maybe we can do more in the next quarter, right? No. Nobody does that. They don't look at it that way. Shame on you, Jeff Bezos. You should liquidate your $110 billion company and feed the world for a day. Oh yeah, he has enough money to wipe out world famine, world hunger, all around the world for a day. You know, the wonderful thing, I just saw a video somebody did that was wonderful satire explaining that if you liquidated all of his value, you would destroy Amazon, all those jobs would be lost, and the economy would probably suffer heavily because of losing all of that tax base, right? But then, once you give that money away, it would run, that's enough money to run the government, the US government, for about 8 months, he said in that video. About 8 months. How about that for a reality check? Who's really out of control here? Jeff Bezos for only giving $690,000 for this one particular tragedy, when there are hundreds of thousands, millions of tragedies all around the world every single day, more and more and more and more? Or is it only because it's convenient for everyone who sits on their couch and flips through their phone to be judgmental of another individual, of someone like Jeff Bezos who's worked so hard to become so successful, to be judgmental and jealous and selfish in your own righteous indignation and moral compass for you to insist on thievery of someone else's hard-earned dollar? You don't hear someone saying to you, well, you know, you've got this really hard view on Jeff Bezos. Well, how much have you given? How much money have you donated to Australia? Well, I sent $50. Oh yeah? Well, how much did you send for the hurricanes in the Gulf of Mexico? How much did you send for the hurricanes in Florida and South Carolina and all of those? And what about the earthquakes that have been happening? What about the tsunamis in Asia? What about the wars in Africa? What about all of the people starving in Russia? Or what about the people that are starving in the United States? How much have you given there? How much time have you volunteered? Maybe you're a social worker. Maybe you dedicate your life to helping others and not even knowing if you'll have a job next month because you don't know if your federal grant is going to come through. Maybe that's what you do. Is that what you do? Is that how you spend your life? Or do you spend your life flipping through social media to satisfy your instant gratification for endorphins and encephalins and the wonderful hormones that flipping through social media gives you, that little rush you get of adrenaline? Is that what you're actually doing? You're pretending to be moral? You're pretending like you pretend with your online life? All right, so I'm done ranting, but I am going to share this for anybody who's made it this far into the video. Here's what you need to learn, because if you're watching the Richest You information, you probably want to learn more about money, how it works, and how to master it, and how to bring more of it into your life, and how to control it, and actually be able to get it to work for you, right? So here's the gold nugget buried in all of that rant about the ridiculous shaming for giving money to somebody to help. It's ridiculous, okay? But here's the gold nugget. The gold nugget is, get ready, because you're next. When you start making money, when you start becoming successful, you can be sure people you never thought would judge you will begin to judge you. People talk about how money changes people. Most of the time, it's not the individual who's making the money that changes. It's the people around them. They treat them different. They act differently. They talk differently about them. And then, as the person who's making the money, you're kind of stunned and shocked at, wow, why would they say that about me? We've been friends since we were kids. I mean, yeah, I made some money, but it doesn't mean I don't still love them as a friend and want to hang out with them. Why are they accusing me of being condescending to them? All I said was we should go for a trip and have fun like we used to. And they freaked out, because what they're really expressing in that type of situation is their own disappointment with their own decisions. So, as a Richest You money maniac, be aware that when you start making money, you are going to have a bullseye on your forehead, right? People will target you just because you're successful, because they're so frustrated in their own life that they haven't found success, that they haven't mastered money, that they make decisions every single day that point them down the path of mediocrity, of being average, or even worse, being broke, or maybe worse, being poor in their mind. They can't change the way they think. So, remember something too. When you see someone like Jeff Bezos, or anybody else in the world for that matter, giving money away, there's a reason for that energetically. Now, obviously, it's been shown that in studies, and Oxford University actually talked about it, they brought together a whole bunch of old studies of kindness, acts of kindness, and the effect it has on people's happiness. And they went statistically through all those studies. So they didn't do their own study. They basically collated a whole bunch of old studies and went through the statistics of the findings. And what they discovered is that being kind does have an improvement, but it's not as much as a lot of people like to say. And of course, they don't distinguish between an act of kindness to a stranger and an act of kindness to a friend or family, and the different significant improvement it might entail, it might encourage simply by that different delineation, or any other delineation for that matter. It just talks about that it's actually smaller than most people think, and that there's not any real way to tell which kind of act of kindness is best. So, but the point is, when someone is wealthy, like you're going to be, like these Richest You money maniacs who are watching me rant about Jeff Bezos and people who judge him, when you become wealthy, right, you have extra. And so when you really feel like, wow, this is terrible what's happening in Australia, and I usually don't watch the news, but this must be bad because it actually made it to me, and I avoid the news on purpose. So, I want to try and help. I want to help, but I'm so busy with my schedule and all of the things that I'm doing, and I'm winning. I'm finally building wealth. I'm finally doing really well. I can't stop what I'm doing. But you know what I can do? I can send some money to a charity who I know is going to use it the right way. Because I've done my research on this charity, and they actually put the money into the communities and actually try to help. So I know that if I send them money, they'll actually use it the right way. It won't get lost in administrative costs. It won't get lost in salaries. It won't get lost in interns running for coffee. It'll actually go to helping the firefighters, helping the families that need help being relocated, and helping the poor animals that are being pushed out of their territories. So I'm going to give money. Now, you have money to give because you're wealthy, right? And so it's actually statistically shown that wealthy people give far more than any other class in the world. Middle class, upper middle class, lower class. Rich people donate more money all around the world than all of those groups combined. So just that upper 1% or upper 10% that everybody complains about, they're too rich, right? They give more money than all the other classes combined, okay? Because they can. Now, here's what happens energetically when you give. It's called tithing. When you give, you get 10 times what you gave out back. That's a biblical reference. Cast your bread on the water and 10 times comes back, and the bread comes back tenfold. So it isn't just biblical, though. It's also energetic. In quantum physics, you can actually back this up, that when you put energy out, it comes back to you. You can watch it even in just commonsensical things. When you put out happiness, people have a tendency to give it back to you. You're walking down the street and you smile and people smile. And it's amazing the energy that just comes back to you. The same is true of criticism, and the same is especially true of judgment, to Market Watch, and any other journalistic pretender, any other fake media source out there that would judge Jeff Bezos for giving anything. When you judge, you get that back way more, exponentially more. So keep your mouth quiet when it comes to somebody giving large sums of money to anybody. It's none of your business, and if you're not actually helping to, then you have no right to speak. That's my own personal opinion about it. Now, back to the lesson though. As a money maniac for the richest you, realize that you are going to be a target, and you got to prepare yourself on how to protect yourself and how to be ready emotionally and psychologically to deal with people judging you and changing, even though you haven't changed at all. Even worse is you've actually probably become a better person because you have the freedom to actually help now. And yet people still criticize you. Isn't that the weirdest thing in the world? Or even worse, they say that you're not worthy of the success that you're having, Jeff Bezos. You're not worthy of having that much money because I say so. How ridiculous is that? Who are we to judge anybody? Judge not, lest ye be judged. Again, so the lesson, right? The lesson is prepare yourself. Because as a money maniac with the richest you are going to become a target, right? And also remember that when you do become wealthy, it is healthy to give and tithe up to a certain percent. And we'll talk about that in a different video. So you want to give and you want to be generous, but you don't want to give so much that you empty your cup and have nothing coming back to you. But remember, when you do give, you get 10 times back anyway. So be happy, be excited, help people when you can, and give a little bit when you can. You know the other thing too, you don't have to just give money. One of the things Amazon is giving to Australia is in-kind technology to help the governments. It's also giving other types of ways of helping instead of just cash. It's helping with resources and other services that are worth money too. But nobody seems to be talking about that. So there you go. As a richest you money maniac, you are going to master money, you are going to become extremely wealthy, and you are going to become a target. So get ready. It's going to be fun, it's going to be exciting, you're going to learn a lot. But just be ready. And remember, when you do give and you're able to help, it doesn't have to be money, it can be volunteering. And that energy comes back to you big time, which is one of the reasons I love sharing this information with all of you guys, because I actually energetically get a whole bunch of energy back just because even if you just get a little bit out of this. So it's wonderful sharing this with you. And if you want to learn more about mastering money with the Richest You, we have a wonderful course that I'm absolutely certain you will really enjoy and get a lot out of. And the link for that down below is in the description. It's called The Richest You, Mastering Money. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up, and absolutely, definitely subscribe to the channel. We would love to have you back every chance we can. All right, thanks for checking in again, everybody. Have a great day, and I hope that you learned something out of this video.